Invincible Season 3 is a mixed bag. Like, it's good, but not much stuff happened. Like, the season peaked at episode 2, and it didn't get better until episode 7 and 8. Let's go through every episode in the season to show you what I mean. Episode 1 was good, but it felt really repetitive of the things that's happened in the show. Like, how is it that Doc Seismic gets out again and he captures all of the Guardians? This storyline has been done so many times. I did not find this interesting at all. I do not care about his character or the scene. And again, of course, Mark and Eve cannot defeat this villain with their powers. This really bugged me in this episode. But episode 2 was great. We saw Cecil's backstory and we saw the fallout of Mark and Cecil, and they had a great moral argument, like who is right, who is wrong, and this was just very interesting. And Cecil became an even more interesting character, and he opened up the world of Invincible a lot more. And then we get to episode 3, and it's the fight between Mark and Oliver. Is it right to kill or not? And it's been pretty clear what Mark needs to do, but he is just not doing it. It obviously is not the morally right thing to do, but if your little brother is telling you to do this, you need to lock in Mark. Like, this whole storyline is not interesting enough to focus a whole episode on. They could have focused on a lot more things. And again, the Guardians get beat up by the Maulers. Like, bruh. And episode 4 was definitely better than episodes 1 and 3, but the only interesting part was Omni-Man and Alan. And Mark going back in time was cool, but it was only to further his character. Like, nothing really happened with the plot. It's the same storyline. Mark is driven into a corner, and then he snaps, and then he kills somebody, but at the end, he still has his just morals. We've seen this so many times, and I didn't like it. But the whole prison break was awesome. I loved it. And episode 5 was definitely better than episodes 1 and 3, but barely. Like, the world was opened up a lot more with this episode, and I liked that. But this episode was mainly focused on Mark and Eve and navigating their relationship, and this was not interesting. Is it just me, or does it feel like Mark and Eve don't have much chemistry? Like, it's always Mark complaining about his problems and Eve just fixing them for him. It was just a self-contained episode of them figuring their relationship out. Like, do they want to move out or do they not? It was just boring to me. But I did like this conflict and all the characters that were in it. It was great. And then we get to the most overrated episode in Invincible, Powerplex, and this felt very redundant. This character was just introduced and we focused the whole episode on him, and I did not care about him at all. And I think the main reason people like this episode is because he is voiced by Aaron Paul. Sorry buddy, that's not gonna do it for me. He was screaming the entire time and saying it's Invincible's fault when it's not, and he was just a dumb character. I get the point of his character, he's just calling out Invincible, but he is not captivating enough to focus a whole episode on. I just did not like this episode. And then we get to the Invincible War, and it was great, one of the best episodes in the series. The plot was moving forward, all the characters were coming together, and it was the peak of Invincible. There's not much to say, it's clear that it was great. And the Conquest episode, it was peak, clear as day, there's no debate. It was a great fight, Mark's character has developed, and Conquest is a great new character. This became the new peak of Invincible, and it rightly deserved it. These two episodes were great, but the build up throughout the season was just not that good. Like, throughout the season, nothing major really happened until those final 2 episodes. It was the same plotline being used again and again throughout these episodes, and I just did not like that. The season was good, but people act like it's perfect and it doesn't deserve any criticism. It's a mixed bag, but let me know guys what you think.